It's that time again. It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. We're going to talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for your right honorable King, King Berkey?
Sorry, it's Badger here, not the King at the moment. Just to mention, though, very, very quickly, that the first 16 minutes of this podcast is, the audio is not that great due to the fact that I had to rip it from the video stream due to the fact that the King forgot to record his audio. So, without further ado, let's introduce the King.
It's live. It's the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show, episode 75. Hello, Babbleites, and welcome to Berkey and Badger and the wonderful kingdom of Babblot with your honorable King Berkey, and I am the host of this elegant podcast, which is streamed live from YouTube via Shipyard into Facebook even, all the way from Babblot, where everyone is a board game enthusiast, and of course, right from your humble, very humble king to the lowest haberdasher. I don't know what a haberdasher is, but that's what is low. And speaking of the low, here is my co-host and jester, Sir Badger the Brave.
Well, good evening. Very good evening to you all. You should know what a haberdasher is.
Haberdasher, I know. I am nothing if I am not a haberdasher.
Yes, you always seem to wear something which is from a haberdashery.
Haberdashery, yes. So that's a hat?
Yes.
See, that's called, in my daughters with their costume company, is called Maddie's Millinery and Costumers, and millinery means hat making. So they were called milliners. So I haven't actually, I think I've heard the term, but didn't really actually know that. Thank you.
There you go. Chris is even backing me up. Haberdashery.
Haberdashery.
You probably spelled it right.
And Chris Goodlet's in the kingdom, and Tim Root is here, and of course Kabuki Kid and Rick Ortloff. We are joining the chat.
Yes, lots of people. Hello to you all. Welcome to episode 75. Industrial. I'm doing a Trump. Industrial chats. Yeah.
It'll be huge, believe me. Huge.
They will be huge. In this episode, we're going to quickly talk about what's been going on in Babblot, and then we are not doing things that make the king go home.
Oh, but we're doing something similar to things go home, yes.
Yes, we are doing something similar. Before moving on to introducing our special guest who's down in the dungeon, we'll open the window in a minute to let some air in because he's, yeah. And then we'll finish on our Babble topic, which will be talking about the different hats that people have to wear in the gaming industry. So, without further ado, let's open the window and look down there. Look down. And who we have in the dungeon? It's this dude. It's Robert Geistlinger.
Geistlinger and Burkhardsmeyer are on the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Robert, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad. We've been good friends for a long time. We've got to know each other through the Dice Tower several years ago, and we've talked about having you on the show so many different times, and then it just never seemed to work. And now that you have taken a position last year with Arcane Wonders, it just seemed like an absolute natural fit to bring you on the show. So congratulations by that. On becoming the new sales manager at Arcane Wonders.
Thank you. It's been a ride. It's been a different experience. I mean, it's sales, but definitely been more in line with my passion, and I was already a fan of Arcane Wonders to begin with. So, and I came in at a perfect time. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, when we get to our game show, we're going to give you a little bit of opportunity to talk about some of the things that you've done. And then in our Babble topic, where we're going to talk about different hats and different roles to have in the board game hobby industry, we're going to kind of explore some of that because we have a wealth of experience between the three of us to talk about a lot of different topics and hopefully get some conversation going and help other people in regarding to that.
I always wear this hat.
You always wear that. You do pretty much, but sometimes it's green, isn't it?
No.
Only the black one?
Just the black one. I have a lot of the exact same hat.
He's the Men in Black. There doesn't seem to be a sweat band across it.
I buy them in bulk. I buy them in bulk.
You buy them. Here's my 12-pack. So what's been happening in your world over there in Babblot there, Barry?
Well, I think what's been happening in both our worlds is they've become extremely, extremely hectic. Life has taken a curveball, and stress factor is making steam come out of both of our ears. We were talking very briefly the other day that, this podcast is really difficult to get all the moons aligned and get everything together. So we've decided to step back and do definitely one episode a month, which is probably very rare for a podcast.
Well, in the past, we've generally, just to let people know, we've always done 2 shows a month, every 2 weeks. But we started doing something that was kind of unique that we thought would be able to create some additional content, but be less time intensive for us. And so we started our Woods of Evergreen segment that we'll be able to just do a live type of thing on YouTube and Facebook. He's shaking his head at me. Anyway, we'll be able to do that with much more proficiency and be able to keep more content out in that regard. But then taking the bigger show that requires a lot more editing and just launch that once a week or once a month, that type of thing. So that's one thing that I think you'll be able to look forward to, is we'll be able to have a little bit more congruent schedule regarding all of that. Hey, Ben Lunches is in the castle.
Ooh.
Welcome. And Trent Turner, my good friend Trent helped at BGG Con in the booth. Good to see you guys. So for me, I think it's just like you, Badger. Just you've been doing tons of editing of sound files, creating sound works for different game companies, and it's created a lot of workload for me. As many of you know, of course, Game Toppers has taken over my life. my life is a 12 to 14 hour heavy Euro every day. And
Well, except you're the only worker.
I'm the only worker.
Placing yourself all over the board.
Well, I have a few other workers involved, but trying to get the worker placement to work correctly, And I very seldom get any palate cleansing game in between my Euro game called Game Toppers, but it's all wonderful. It's a pick up and deliver game.
There you go.
That's fun and wonderful. Hey, we've got Mark Livergood is in the castle. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Yeah, we're so excited getting the toppers out. I'm going to tell you really quick what I've been up to, but we just unloaded 2 full semis of Game Topper components from my manufacturer, the Leaf accessory rails, the rail bundles, some of that type of merchandise, including our first batch of standard Adler toppers. The next thing we did is we had our second and our third 45-foot high containers that came with our game mats, second container of game mats, and all of our storage bags for the Game Toppers and the Leaf bundles and all of the rail bundles. And it took us 3.5 hours to unload 22,000 pounds yesterday on the one container. And we did that basically 4 times. So you can see I wore my back brace to give you a little clue of how much lifting we did.
Wow.
So,
Way too much. It's way too much manual labor for me.
I'm too old for this crap.
More of a thinky kind of person.
Yeah, I'm a thinky. I want to have manicured fingernails.
I want when I pass and they're looking at the body and trying to figure out what my life story were. They're like, don't think he did any hard labor in his entire life.
You could say the same about me. You look at my hands and they don't look hard, labor intense, but the rest of my body is.
Incredible. Tim Root is in the castle and says, don't forget about to feed your workers. Yes, of course, we will. There's no problem with feeding this worker, I can tell you that.
He's got a happy mouth, that worker. Yeah.
I'm a good eater.
Nice product, Claude.
My mom always said I was a good eater, too.
Oh, good.
Well, with that, let's we put a poll up last month. And Barry, you wanted to go through the poll real quick?
It was last week, actually.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago when we had Emerson Matsuchi on the show.
Yeah, which was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. So, nowhere near a month. Yeah, we did a poll based on our last show, which was the best of 2019. And then I put a poll up of all the games that we mentioned, even Emerson, even Death Standing, which is a video game, which Emerson was his number one. And we asked you to vote if you agree with us or don't agree with us. We had 159 people vote, and the results are like this. A whopping 50% of the results were for Wingspan. So many people agree that it is one of the best games that was released in 2019. I am not going to stir up any controversy there. I just keep my mouth zipped. And Underwater Cities, obviously with this expansion, because Underwater Cities was actually a 2018 game, that also got 34.5% of the votes. Whereas all the other little games didn't do too well. And I didn't expect, like, Greenville or Spacegate Odyssey to do very well because they are primarily French releases. But hopefully next year, you'll probably hear about them on the Dice Tower plug again.
Yeah, and the thing about that list too, it's we put out a caveat there that hey, we just haven't played all the new games. There's probably other games that are deserving, of course, to be in that list. And then Emerson, he admitted that he was being jerky, trying to wreck our show. Pulls out some video game into his top 5 crappy list. I mean, good grief, who does that?
I mean, I can throw a kink into that list.
Go on then.
It's a little embarrassing for me. I've only played one game on that list.
Oh no!
Yeah?
Wow.
Which one? Can players guess?
Last year, I did not play a lot of new games, so I've only played one game on that list.
Let me. Well, the obvious one would probably be said Wingspan, but I feel
Not
that
Wingspan.
I presume you'd really played Museum.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Ooh. Wow. I
mean, think about my penchant for really dry games.
Dry. Are you a Euro player mostly?
Dry.
So
Which of those games is dry? None of those games are dry.
I mean,
No.
what else?
Adara.
No, it's Pipeline.
yeah, I was going to
Okay.
just say it's a heavier Euro pipeline. I was thinking Lisboa, but that's the year before.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
So no point salad for you.
I've heard great things about Point Salad, just haven't gotten to it.
That's a
I'm
fun
running
little
about a year
salad.
behind.
Yeah, I think it's a fun one. Well, that's the poll, and so we're going to move on into our news segment, things that make you go, This is an abbreviated version, because what we're going to do on this show, being we have Robert Geistlinger here from Arcane Wonders, we're going to talk about the hit Kickstarter that they have going right now with the Foundations of Rome Kickstarter. Before we get into that, I did want to just make one little quick comment about things that make us go, my good friend A.Z. Drummond, who is working with Mythic Games. Recently, Mythic did kind of a restructuring and different things like that, and A.Z. was part of the team that kind of was restructured and let go. I love this guy, and so I was interested to see where he was going to land and all of that. And he just announced today that he has landed with Lucky Duck Games.
Nice.
Which is really exciting. I can't be more happy for AZ and for Vince and the team at Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is just great company, great people, great games, and now I think they're only going to get better.
That's good news.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So with that, Robert, of course, you now are the sales manager of is that your official title with Arcane Wonders now?
I am the director of sales and marketing.
Director of sales and marketing, a little bit better than sales manager.
Well, I was going to say, look, I even have a fancy business card that says it, but apparently I have none up here. Wait, yes, I do. I have a whole bunch of them. Look, see? Fancy business card. If it won't even focus, will it? See? Fancy.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
broke tradition and didn't put a Mage Wars character on my card.
Okay, you did not.
What with a new game, Dragon Scales?
All right. Why not? And then next year it'd be different again.
Probably.
It'd be a Roman building. No.
Well, wonderful.
Could be. It depends on whether I've changed my title to Caesar at that point.
Caesar, king of the world. Well, tell us a little bit about what's happening with the Kickstarter. Last time we had Emerson Matsuuchi, the designer of the game, on, and he really talked a little bit about the game. Love for you to talk about it as well. I know, for your information, I received the prototype that you sent me, and this last weekend we got to play this game with 3 different groups of people, and it was fantastic. I mean, no BS. You've been a sponsor of the show. Full disclosure, we have always loved Arcane Wonders, but I mean, when we put this game out, every time we played it, everybody went, "Oh, I want to play it again." And just looking at the buildings and wanting to immerse yourself in the theme of it because of the component quality was like, it was amazing. Tell us a little bit more about the Kickstarter. Barry's showing some of the pictures here.
Yeah, I see that. I actually hadn't seen these pictures yet. So now I'm just like stuck looking at pictures. Yeah, I mean, the Kickstarter has been going fantastic. We couldn't be more excited about the overwhelming support. But it all starts with Emerson just brought us such a beautiful game to start with. I'm sure he gave you the whole history of the game wasn't originally Rome and all that. So
no, we didn't hear about that. We haven't heard that story.
So I'm surprised. Originally, if I remember right, the game that Emerson originally brought, it was space.
Oh,
so
better.
This is way better.
Oh yeah,
we have enough space games. We don't have enough Rome games. And obviously, this is the next game in our Dice Tower Essentials line, which is obviously near and dear to my heart. But this being the first time that Arcane Wonders has went to Kickstarter, and due to the size of this thing is Kickstarter exclusive. But what really drew me to this game was the fact that it's such an easy game to learn. Mm-hmm. But man, once you get about halfway into round 2, your brain just sort of clicks in this way that you're like, okay, so if I do this and this, and then you start looking at the deeds coming out, and you start getting into almost hate drafting sometimes, which is how I play the game. I'm like, oh, did you need that space? It happens to be 9, so I can be like, I'm sorry, D9. I'm like, I'm sorry, D9.
Yep.
There's so many jokes. A lot of Battleship jokes get made as well. And also, it's great. There's one corner in a 3-player game that is H8. So you really get to be like, I'm really hate drafting this one from you. But no, what really was fantastic about this is it was so easy to learn, but it was so epic. And one thing I've always said is, a lot of these these family weight games that you can play with your family that fall into that. What we want the Dice Tower Essentials line to be typically tend to be smaller games or not so much table presence, and so they don't wow you with sitting on the table. And the problem is a lot of the games that wow you sitting on the table and they sprawl out, those games tend to be too involved for your family weights. So you get that in between there. And so what this game is, it shows that you can have a family weight game that is epic.
And that can be played in a reasonable timeline too, right?
Right. So before I had gotten involved in it, I was actually skeptical. I was like, so what's the playtime on this? And they're like, no, it's about an hour or so. And I'm like, all right. And sure enough, the first few times I played it, I'm like, yep, that was right about an hour. And that was at a 4-player count with me teaching it. So yeah, it's just so satisfying, those buildings. Obviously, all things said, the game didn't need giant chunky buildings, but they bring the game to life in such a way. One of my favorite things is when Tom finally got to play the game with the buildings, because he was like me, he'd only played with the flat paper cardboard stuff for prototype testing. Is at the end he goes, you know what? This is so satisfying. Picking these buildings up is so satisfying. And those are 3D prints.
Yeah, and they're unbelievable. And the new ones are going to be amazing, even better. But, I mean, good grief. When you talk about satisfying, we talked specifically when we played this game, and we said, could you imagine playing this game with cardboard tokens or little blocks of wood or something? This is amazing.
Right, you could, but once you've played it like that, you're like, I just can't even imagine. And I've been making a joke because the pieces that Berkey's holding up were all 3D printed in my kitchen back here.
Oh, wow.
I have, right behind this curtain, there are 4 3D printers set up in my kitchen.
I smell eggs and quiche.
Not in my kitchen.
I smell quiche.
But I've been making a joke because I had 4 3D printers going for like 3 months back there, which after a while you just hear 3D printers, like it's all you hear. But I've been joking as the prototypes have gone on, I'm like, those were all fresh baked in my kitchen. And then I just sit there deadpan. Yeah, so those are the fountains. And what's really cool is you've got, so that's one of the civic buildings in the game. Any of the dark ones are the civic buildings. Yes, Chris, those will have proper molds and everything. They won't be 3D prints in the final version. But so that's a commercial building. So you've got commercial buildings that generate coin and some victory. You've got population, which are these sort of buildings here, which generate people in the city, and those have their own separate track. And then those civic buildings that are really, to me, the equalizer, because those buildings score off of the other buildings in the game, including your opponent's games. So, example, this library here, which scores 1 point for every person, when that's adjacent to population centers, it's going to score based on the population. So I was like, you can, when you've got there you go. So you got some apartments here, a library's good nearby. But then you can really get even cooler on that and then put a garden next to that to then generate more points. So that's where it really comes into the puzzle of it. But I also really like when somebody puts in a bunch of population and then someone builds a library. Well, as long as they didn't go full-blown with the population buildings, they didn't make the 4s, you can always try to upgrade the buildings into larger buildings, but it doesn't have to be the same type. So I'll be like, oh, you put in some libraries? That's awkward. I've just turned all this into a commercial sector.
I think, there's a couple games that it kind of reminded me. It reminded me just a little bit of the game Acquire, which I really love, an older game. And then it reminded me a little bit of Suburbia from Bezier Games, which I think is brilliantly designed too. And so while this is a family weight game that can be played in an hour, and that was our experience as well, and we literally did a 15-minute teach, and everybody played. My wife played one of the games, and she's a big Ticket to Ride fan. She likes playing, that family weight type of game like Coliseum and Stockpile and games of that nature. But if they're much deeper than that, she'll that's not her style. but she was fully engaged with it, fully understood the mechanisms right away.
Right.
And it was so immersive for all of us. But that being said, doesn't mean that it's an easy game. I mean, there's tons of satisfying choices and strategies, and am I going to go for population and try to get a whole bunch of points there, or am I going to go for collecting a bunch of gold early on and getting a bunch of land? I mean, there's so many options, and the variability because of that mechanism of the auction draft there. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and what's also really cool about that is that's just it. Is people who like lighter games, even though this does have a lot of depth to it, in reality, there's this feeling, even though it's a competitive game, because everyone's building out in the board of Rome, you also have a sense of you're building a puzzle together. And even though I want to win the game, there's something really satisfying is if as a group, in the very end of the game, if you actually did build every single lot in the game, there's something satisfying at the table for everyone, even if you didn't win. So I really love that about it as well. And to speak to people who want it for that family weight, if you actually look at the Kickstarter page and see our storage solution on there, we've designed that in such a way right out the gate, because that means when you put things away, everyone puts it back onto their things, they pop the lid. The next time you go to play it, you pull a tray out for a color, you put it in front of that player, they pop it off, you deal out the cards to the thing, you're ready to go. Setup time under 5 minutes after your first time playing it. And that was something really important because it looks epic. We needed it to be set up quickly because those epic games, sometimes, let's be honest, how long does it take you to set up Gloomhaven? Almost as long as it takes to play a game of it. That doesn't work in a family weight game.
And the fact that you've went to the trouble to engineer a really good insert so you don't have to buy a separate insert. I love inserts and so forth, but this allows you... when I saw what you did with that insert and those trays, I mean, it's crazy, amazing, just like you said, to be able to play so quickly and yet store it in a professional way. Barry's showing some videos here.
Yeah. I mean, think about, your wife, who likes the Ticket to Ride stuff. She's not the kind of gamer who's also going to sit there and wait for you for 35, 40 minutes setting up a game. She's going to check out. She'll be like, oh, I'm already over this, because now we got a rules explanation too. Family weight gamers don't want to sit around at the table an hour before they get going. Whereas in this case, now, the teach time is, honestly, I've got it down to teaching most people under 8 minutes or something. Combine that with a 5-minute setup time that you could be teaching while handing out. Well, you can pull this out to your family and be up and playing 10 minutes.
And we printed
that's fantastic.
We printed out the rules. Just point this out from the Kickstarter, because the prototype I had that you sent me didn't actually have the rules because they were still being developed. But I printed these out, and there's just several pages. I probably can't see this very well, but this is just black and white. Yeah. But we virtually had zero issues reading through this rule set and knowing how to play. Josiah did it, and he's way better at it than I am. But I looked through this, and the size of the text, the way it's organized is just really great, which is really good, especially for this weight of game. You want it to be, like you said, quick to teach.
Right. And Tim just mentioned something I see came up in the chat there that's important too, is there's very little wait time between turns because you're only doing one or two things. You buy a lot, or you put out a building onto the lots you have, or you collect money. So turns just go like that. They basically have no downtime in this game. There are times where I actually am trying to think about my next few moves, and they're like, it's your turn. And I'm like, you don't get downtime in this game. And that's another thing that was so fantastic about it.
Well, let's talk about the Kickstarter real quick, and then we'll move on to our game show. But this is a little bit of an extended sponsorship spot here, if you will. But the thing that I thought was really thoughtful about the way you guys have handled the Kickstarter is you've incorporated a lot of stretch goals regarding a lot of different monuments that has had backer participation in it I see that Ben Lunch he's already got a vote in that he wants a vomitorium. So that's a possibility of a stretch goal, I would assume, but no.
Probably not.
You have the Temple of Mars, and you had several of these. Why don't you discuss
Temple
that?
of Venus, my personal favorite.
Which one?
The Temple of Venus being my personal favorite.
Okay.
I actually wanted that one unveiled first, but...
Well, talk a little bit about the different stretch goals. We've talked about the packaging and that type of thing.
Yeah, so we've got, the temples, which add to the monuments, and we also incorporated, I forget what level we did, we had the backers actually vote for one, of which the backers did not surprise me. I actually, as soon as we opened the voting, I went...
I don't know what the answer is, but I'll tell you what I voted.
Okay.
I voted for Live Long and Prosper for the Vulcan.
So that was what my guess was from the very beginning. I went, listen, these are gamers. I'm like, it's probably going to be Vulcan. And the last thing I looked, Vulcan was in the lead. I actually voted for Diana myself.
Okay.
But I thought it was going to be between Vulcan and Bacchus. But yeah, so we let him vote on that. We decided from the beginning to not be set on the 5th player colors. So we let the backers vote on 5th player colors.
Oh.
So it was important to us to have the backers involved because we took all this time engineering this perfect core game, but we wanted backers to feel involved in that. And
That's awesome.
That also led us to the Gardens of Ceres, or I'm probably not saying it correctly, because they wanted, a lot of backers were asking for a solo module. And that seems to be a thing in Kickstarter. And the game, as it was designed, just solo wasn't really there. It wasn't something that we could just easily throw in. So we actually we got in touch with David Turksey, which most people know have done a lot of different solo modules. He's also done his designs. Actually, my Dice Tower hat, I'm going to be reviewing one of his designs here soon for something else. But and he actually started working directly with Emerson.
Oh.
And so we knew backers really wanted a solo module, so we contracted him out. Fortunately, it did have additional costs, so we couldn't just give it away but it's so nice because unlike a lot of times with Kickstarters, a rule set, a Kickstarter, the solo modules that people introduce are normally just some extra rules. And I find that really disappointing because I can't tell you how many games I look around where the backers asked for a solo, and I'm really disappointed with what got forced into the box. Whereas this is an actual separate module. There's a deck of cards, there's tokens. It's a real solo experience versus just some rules we came up with to make the game vaguely solo playable. So that was really exciting, and the backers, it was something they wanted. So yeah, we've made sure and kept the backers completely involved.
Well, I know there's some discussion about these here were stickers that has...
They were stickers.
And now you've done some amazing innovation, it appears, on that particular item.
Yeah, so that's the current work for it. I believe this is really more my partner Walter's side of things, but I believe we're now doing the chits that pop into it, so you're not having to do the stickers. Plus, it makes it removable. I without going further, I believe there might be another solution if things go well, but I can't speak to that.
Yeah, there's something about a future stretch goal that can possibly do that.
That might make that sticker replacement even better, but we'll see. We still got a week to go.
That's pretty
less
exciting.
than a week now, I guess. But yeah, so we knew from the beginning backers were going to not like stickers. I mean, we've all followed enough TMG Kickstarters to know how backers feel about stickers. We know how backers feel about stickers. Stickers personally don't bother me, but I knew going into it. But I also knew that with this being such a large Kickstarter, that we didn't have a solution that was going to be workable from day one financially. So my initial thing was, listen, from the day one, if we have to go with stickers, let's give the backers at least 2 full sets of stickers. I think in the end we were probably going to put 5 sets in the boxes. So if you mess the stickers up, whatever, you've got extras. So I'm like, that'll give us something. But we continually, I believe every day, myself, Walter, Steven, John, every day it was, what are we going to do about this sticker problem? What are we going to do about what? Have we got on the phone with the manufacturer? Have we? What are the different options? I think at one point we started talking about the possibility of having it done like pips on a die, where they actually had molded it in, do the wipe, the paint. That unfortunately wasn't going to work because of the little detail needed.
Size.
We talked about all sorts of different things, and this was one that came out of, I don't remember who we were talking to, but they brought this to us, and we're like, that would work.
Well, that's fantastic.
So yeah, it was important that the backers have a say, because especially this being a Kickstarter exclusive, now it was important that they didn't change the game.
Right.
And there are a lot of times people fall into that pitfall. We still wanted to make sure that Foundations of Rome is the game that Emerson designed.
Yeah.
So anything that could modify that, we'd need to get Emerson involved. So that was important, but it was important that backers have, and now I think the we're also putting the backers' names on the inner box. That was that one came out of my brain, oddly enough. I was sitting here and I was thinking about, man, what would be really cool, like, because we started picking up Steam, and I looked this way, and I saw my copy of Cthulhu Wars, and I remembered back when I was nobody, and I got my Kickstarter copy of Cthulhu Wars, how excited I was that my name was on that inner box, and for the record, is like 3 spots down from Richard Launius's name, and at that point made me really happy. Now I'm like, whatever. But I was like, man, we've got all that wasted space inside that box that because of everything, I'm like, well, it's just going to be black. I'm like, how much would it be for us to just put the backer's name? And so that came out of that. And so, yeah, it was just important that the backers feel like they are part of the process here.
Yeah,
we've even engaged some of them for the translations. So we're going to be doing French, Italian, German, Spanish rulebook translations. I believe I actually started talking to a guy yesterday who might do it in Dutch, too.
Wow.
So...
Oh, that's fantastic. I think you've done a really good job in communication. Also, there's been really quick responses, which is very important to me when I'm talking with my backers. Now, I know that we're going to finish...
I do have to give it up to our art director, Stephen Gibson, because myself and Walter were away for a little bit, and Stephen stepped up, and he was phenomenal keeping up with the backer comments in our absence.
I saw that while you were out cruising in the Bahamas and the Caribbean with the Dice Tower hobnobbing.
Playing games of Foundations of Rome with folks nonstop.
Oh, it was a working vacation then, is what you're saying. Well, lastly, just before we move on, I understand that we are going to be having a big announcement today of a new add-on to Foundations of Rome, and I must say I am so pleased to be helping Arcane Wonders with this. Barry, do you want to put up that picture, and do you want to talk about that just a little bit, Robert?
Whoa! So this is the first time I'm seeing this picture. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, so those who are in this watching this live now are going to hear it before the announcement goes on the Kickstarter. So our good friends at Game Toppers. I don't know who handles that company.
It's me. Pick me. Pick me.
Have done this Rome Game Topper map for us that we are going to be offering as an add-on for our Kickstarter. I believe that's going up today as a special announcement add-on that you're going to be able to get at a reduced price versus what it would be later through Game Topper. So this is a special thank you, a gift for our backers if they want to get a large Rome mat to play Foundations of Rome on. So I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, I'm looking forward to getting one of those on my table.
Absolutely. Throw that back up there real quick, Barry. I'll add a little bit to that conversation. We have contracted at Game Toppers with the artist Yaroslav Radecki. He did our Viking theme mat, which was our #1 selling mat. He also did the Scythe-inspired resource mat that we had permission from Jamie Stegmeyer to do, and our fantasy mat. Yaroslav's artwork, in my opinion, is just every time I give the guy something to do, I have been so impressed. But on this project, we did something slightly different in cooperation with Arcane Wonders. We've been in discussions about this for quite some time, but we wanted to take some of the art asset elements from the Foundation of Rome games so that there was a lot of continuity. So, like, for instance, when you play Reavers of Midgard on the Viking theme map, it's done by the same artist, which creates this awesome immersive environment all the way through. Now, while this map is a Roman theme map, you'll be able to play all kinds of games on this. You'll be able to play Trajan and Carpe Diem and Concordia and viticulture. There's vineyards all over. I mean, you can do all kinds of different things, but it's going to have the art style. It's a different artist than you've actually used for your particular game, but it is inspired by that art. So the continuity and the color palette, a lot of attention to detail went into that to show construction of buildings and the temple and all of those type of things.
Yeah, can you throw it back up there for a second, Bergie?
Barry?
I especially really like that the statue over there is being built.
Correct.
I really like that.
And this is
gorgeous.
That was part of the art style that Stephen and Walter and I had been working on, and also the city development, and then the Navy down below, and then having other aspects with the Parthenon and the Colosseum and the aqueduct, things of that nature that would also put it in this environment. So it's almost like you're looking down one of the coasts of Italy in this map. And again, these mats are 3mm premium game topper mats. These aren't 1.5 millimeter mats. These are fully stitched edge, all of the quality that you've come to expect with game toppers. And it's going to be made in a 3 foot by 5 foot size for Arcane Wonders. We're going to do those on our next offering in all of the game topper sizes. But this will be an early release for Arcane Wonders in this 3 foot by 5 foot size, which fits a variety of different companies' game tables, including one of our options, and just to even put on your normal table. It's going to be fantastic.
Fit nicely on my table back here. And so not only an early release for us, but we're also, I said I have to get that from Walter when the announcement goes, but we're also going to be able to offer it at a reduced price versus what it's going to be later.
Yeah,
specifically for our Foundation's backers.
Well, and one of the things, too, that Foundation backers are going to have an option on is these wonderful storage bags.
Right.
And these here also provide just a nice add-on for folks. So it's just keeping in time with what you're doing with quality of your game. You're putting out a top-notch game, and now you're offering extra accessories just to kick it up a notch for those that want that.
Hey, if you've got a top-notch game, you can't just put it on any old surface.
Well, with that, we're going to move right along. We spent a lot of time talking about this, but I am seriously so thrilled for you guys. Congratulations, over $650,000, 7 days to go. Let's pump this thing to $1 million.
Let's see where we're at. I haven't checked on since. We're at 600 and about to hit 656. Closing in on 5,000 backers. I'm excited.
It's amazing. It's so fantastic, and so thrilled for you guys.
It has far exceeded my expectations, and it's only going to get better.
The city-building board game Foundations of Rome puts you in the role of an architect, competing to own land and build magnificent structures. Build doomises, fountains, foundries, and more to increase your renown, gain glory for yourself and the Empire. With 96 wonderfully detailed miniatures in the base game, Foundations of Rome is a testament to the glory of Rome that you can bring to the table. Welcome, everybody, to What Game is Behind the Door. In this segment, will we put in our special guest to the test by asking them 3 questions. Questions like, what was the last game that they purchased? What is the game they're most excited about getting? And what is their favorite game right now?
Berkey and Badger will have to figure out what these answers are by asking questions in particular styles. Let's find out if Berkey and Badger can get 3 out of 3 or fall flat on the floor like a floundering thingy.
Okay, what we have is question number 1 is for Robert, and we're going to try and find out what was the last game that he purchased. And we're going to do this in kind of like a 20-question style, where we will both ask a question each. Robert will be able to respond with either a yes or no answer before showing us a component. And we're going to do this 5 times and hopefully try and guess the game that he just bought.
All right.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Alrighty, so we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah, hopefully we can guess before the 5 questions each and the 5 components.
Well, we will run him through the challenge and the gauntlet, as he is in our dungeon and he shall not defeat us.
And don't forget, you guys in the chat can join in and try and guess as well and give us a helping hand.
Yes, please. I would say, is it a Ticket to Ride size box?
No.
Okay, that's always my first question.
Okay. Is it a Euro-style game?
No.
No.
So that's a question each. Robert's now going to show us his first component. And we will describe it for you podcast listeners at home. He's having a scribble and a squabble, and he's found it, and it comes up to the camera. It's a black wooden
Archer
or an angel.
Wow, that's a really good clue.
Or a cupid, sorry.
It can't be a cupid, is it?
Right. It could have been the wings. I don't know if
It's a
the wings
black
on the back.
cupid.
It's a black cupid.
Wow, it's fair.
Or an archer.
Wow.
That's a very unique piece.
It is?
That's not from the Robin Hood game, is it? I have that. I don't remember that. Not Robin Hood.
It is not.
Okay.
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 Let's move on to the second question.
Question number 2 then. Is it a worker placement game?
No.
Wow.
No worker placement.
You'd think that with the wooden meeple, wouldn't you? It was a worker placement
You
game.
you would think so. I mean, there might be a reason why I started that way.
An archer. Okay. Is it a game based on fantasy battles? Combat?
So I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay. And then we're going to go to component number 2.
Okay, let's look. Could you put that just a
I
little
am gonna
closer?
try to make it a little better for you.
It looks like a cardboard oval chit that has a picture of an arrow on it. So it's a small oval with blue background with a arrow. Wow. This wouldn't happen to be the new Portal Stronghold game, would it?
No.
Okay. You have a guess, Barry?
I haven't got a clue.
Don't think I do either. All right, third.
Third question.
So we must have to collect resources, but he's with arrows. But he's saying it's not a euro.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a worker placement. So is this a cooperative game?
Yes and no.
So it's a semi-corp.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So
That could be one interpretation.
Yeah, it could be one interpretation.
So I haven't seen it. I've been wanting to take a look at it, but it isn't the Clank Inquisition, the new Legacy Clank game.
Nope.
All right.
Yeah. They got some interesting meeples, haven't they? In their games.
Sorry, I didn't let you ask your question there, Barry.
That's okay. Give me a chance to try and come up with something really stupid, like... Is there a barbarian meeple?
No.
Okay. Component number 3.
Wow.
All right, next component.
Well, see, he's connected. He can get all these games from all over the deepest reaches of the world.
No, but he has to have paid for it, purchased.
And I did.
Yeah, he did purchase it. Okay, so here's a red die that has a X on one side. It looks like it. I don't know. I can't see what those white symbols
like a
are.
Fireball of some sort.
I'm trying to make it.
Fireball.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's a fireball. There's an X. There's a fireball plus. So this is a combat game, I think, and obviously it's combat dice. Mark's taking a guess that it's Dwellings of Evandale.
No, that's not available yet.
Yeah, no, it's not available. And Robin had already been asked.
Wow. So, do you have a guess, there, Barry?
I'm thinking. I don't know why I'm thinking of Root, because they've got Root.
That's a good
An
guess.
expansion for Root.
No.
Okay. Is it a cool mini or not game? A come on game?
No.
Come on, would they put Meeple in their games? is it a GMT game? I didn't see a sticker.
I don't have a clue.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is this game...
Inquisitor! Inquisitor!
Is it a recent release in the past 2 years? He looks on the back of the box.
Yes.
It is in the
Within the last 2 years. But he had to look, so I don't even know if he's played the thing. He's just pulling crap out of boxes is what he's doing.
He's got random components from random games just littered around his room.
Right. Would these have to be from the same game? No, I'm just kidding. They're all from the same game.
Okay, number 5.
Four.
Number 4.
Time does work different in your end of Babblot, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Last month is a week ago. 3 years together is actually 5 years together.
Okay, this looks like a round poker chip.
Oh, it's cardboard.
It's cardboard.
chip.
Okay, so it's not a poker chip, so it's not
It's a
a...
blue shield.
Good, so that could be a Viking game.
Could be a Viking game.
Viking game.
That would be nice.
Oh! I will guess... I don't remember there being that token, though, but it's not Vikings 878.
Nope.
Okay. I am going to pass because I'm now cheating on Board Game Geek.
Okay, number 5.
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Okay, number 5. Do I want to give you a small?
We got asked question number 5 yet.
We got to
Oh yeah,
ask
you haven't
question
asked.
5.
Right.
Good grief, it's a semi-co-op, so it's kind of a co-op.
I didn't say that.
He didn't say that. He just said yes and no.
I'm thinking of a good question which would narrow it down just a smidgen. It would be nice.
Is it a dungeon crawl?
No.
Is it an area control?
No.
This is the Board Game News, where King Berkey reflects on some of the current things happening in the board
Component
game
Last
industry.
component.
Last component.
It's our last chance.
Some may be good, some may be bad, but they're all things that made our king go.
Okay, some beautiful art. It looks like it's a blue card.
Gonna try to focus it for you.
Yeah, I'm getting some glare.
little difficult.
It looks like it's a female character that has lightning bolts coming out of her hands down by her side.
Or reflective daggers.
I-
With an angel symbol in the corner.
Yeah, can you explain the card a little better, Robert?
It is
It's a card from Dixit.
a lady in armor with 2 swords and a symbol of some sort in the corner.
2 swords. Oh, beautiful art.
The sword could make yeah. The lady in the armor looks like she could be a child.
Mm-hmm.
She looks to be in a cave.
In a cave. In a cave.
I'll show you the back, just so you have the back. So
Wow.
helpful.
That is helpful. But I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I guess I don't have a clue. Badger?
I'm going to say it's Detective City of Angels.
Well, it's not.
All right, you stumped us on question number 1. Make the big reveal.
You want the big reveal?
Yeah, the big reveal.
So I will give you this. It is designed by a very famous designer and his daughter.
And his daughter. Oh, so this is Engelstein's?
Nope.
Okay. Not Jeffrey. Father-daughter designer.
Peacock.
I believe she is quite young too. I believe that she is maybe 8 years old. I think. I don't know. She's young.
That's cool.
This is a famous designer who has done quite a few big games.
Okay, who'd that be?
Matt.
You ready?
Yep.
Dragon Keepers.
Dragon Keepers by Katarina Lacerda and Vital Lacerda.
Oh, wow. Dragon
Okay.
Keeper.
Came out in 2019. And it plays both cooperatively in a cooperative mode and a competitive mode.
Wow, where's it being published? European
It was
published?
published by Nightworks.
Okay, so what made you pick this up?
I happened to be in St. Louis, and I, for the first time ever, stopped in at the miniature market location, because I'd never been to miniature market, like
That's
physically.
awesome. Superstore,
and
isn't it?
this was on the shelf, and I was like, I love this dragon. I love Vital Lacerda. Like, obviously, Lisboa being one of my favorite games ever. And I was like, you know what? I saw the name, and then I read the story, and I was like, I have to have it. And so I bought it.
Wow.
And it
Impulse
has
buy.
like bags and dice and tokens. There are a lot of dice in this game.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a push your luck sort of thing.
Okay. So we have been stumped on question number 1, but we still have 2 questions to come back and keep him in our dungeon.
This has happened before. This means nothing.
Because if he gets out, he's going to do something arcane. You know that.
Yeah.
It'll be a wonder
Fireball.
if I don't.
I wonder what it would be. Okay, we'll move on to question number 2. What is the game that Robert is most excited about getting? And in this question, he's going to doodle, or he has already doodled a doodle for us to try and guess what the game is.
So he has not already doodled.
He has not.
Okay, so we're going to do some intermission music.
But he does have the ability to doodle because he knew that he was going to have to doodle. Alright, so this is the game that I am most excited about getting.
Yeah.
Alright.
Here comes the pen. This is like watching that painter.
The pen is mightier than the man.
Bob Kane? Bob Kane. Batman.
I'm Batman. Bat Dad. Bat Dad.
Bad Dad. I think he's got the box next to him. He's going to draw the box cover art.
Well, he's brought up the BGG because he doesn't have the game yet because he's excited about getting the
He's
game.
excited about getting it.
Okay.
Alright, he's doodling.
So he's not doing a Pictionary kind of doodle. He's actually going to be drawing the box from BGG.
No, I'm going to make this really easy for you.
He's an accomplished artist. You do know this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some people call him a master. This is
Yeah, but
this is
you
a
said that
scientific
about-
fact.
you said that about Marty Cornell. And then he drew like a stick figure X-Wing.
Well,
An X-Wing, a TIE
but,
fighter.
You know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Some people thought it was amazing.
Did they?
Yeah.
Because my art is terrible. Just so everyone knows.
Don't put yourself down like that.
All right, you ready for my artwork?
We're ready.
Yeah.
The master.
This is going to be
reveals.
too easy. You're actually going to get this question, I hope. Oh, wow, I just noticed I wrote this on the back of a retailer pledge terms.
Oh,
All
nice.
right. Here's my doodle.
Okay, a little closer, please.
Wow.
Okay, it looks like it's got a cat.
Or it's a duck bending down.
No, it's that new game, Cats in the Box or whatever.
It can't be a new game because it's probably a game that's not even out.
No, it's that one. It was a Kickstarter, Island of Cats. Island of
What
Cats.
is it?
Island of Cats. Cat Island.
Yeah, I guess
Island.
that's close enough. You are correct in the game, but
Hey.
it's Isle of Cats.
Isle of Cats. Yeah, just people are posting. In fact, Blue Peg, Pink Peg, Christina just posted a picture, and she took the cover off so that the cat would jump in it. And the cat didn't want anything to do with the cover. And I'm like, why are you putting the cat in the cover of your game anyway? Only bad things will happen.
Yeah. People who are allergic to cats will not want to play that game.
So tell us why you're so excited about getting Isle of Cat.
Honestly, because cats.
Oh.
It's a game, you're rescuing cats. Listen, I am an absolute sucker for any game with cats. Just a quick tip out there to designers who want to pitch me something. If there are cats in it, there is a real good chance that I'm at least going to sit down with you.
Well, they should just put a cat picture next to their signature or something.
Right. And the designer of this also did the Doran Gardens, I think, which I enjoyed. Something. It's Frank West. And just the artwork in it is absolutely beautiful. And everyone who knows me who has played it has been like, you're going to love this.
Okay.
And so I am very excited about getting this and playing this game. I knew it was going to be my sort of thing. Plus, you're rescuing cats. What can I not like about this? You must rescue as many cats before the evil lord arrives. I'm like, I'm in.
So your image was a bit more cryptic than it actually was, because I thought it was like maybe a cat sat in its own pee-pee.
This is an
It's actually
island.
an aisle.
This is an island, and that's a
You
cat.
thought it was a litter box.
It was a litter box. Yeah, that's what cats do. They just pee anywhere.
Well, sir, the godfather of board games, Scott Alden, has graced the kingdom of Babblot.
All right, I'm out. Hi, Ollie.
Yes, all right. On to the third question. We're tied 1-1. Brookie and Badger against our prisoner.
Okay, the last question is, what is Robert's current favourite game? The one that he's playing the most, dreaming about, and actually has a copy of the rulebook sat next to him on his bedside when he goes to sleep. He's going to now give us 5 one-word clues, and we're going to have a guess in between each one to try and decipher what his game is. Again, you guys at home, or you guys listening, you guys watching, can join in.
So I saw this in there before, because I have 2 games. When you make current, does it mean just like a current game that's my favorite? It can be my current favorite game, period.
Your current favorite game, the one you think about the most. And
the one that I always think
with.
about? Okay. How to give you
one-word clues.
1 words. All right.
It's the decider.
Avalon.
Avalon.
And it's not allowed to include the title of the game itself.
I know. I'm aware.
Avalon. Okay.
Resistance.
I will say Merlin.
No.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm going to say Resistance.
No.
Okay. Word number 2.
Clearly not planned.
No. Did not play it at all. Ancient.
Medieval. Okay, he's a big fan of heavy Euros there, Badger.
Oldie's going for Tainted Grail.
I don't know what that one is. But that's kind of new, so it's probably not the one he's thinking about all the time, right?
Yeah, and he hasn't played any games. He's played one game from 2019, he said. So
yeah, duh. Yeah, duh.
I'm gonna pass.
I'll pass.
I'll pass on the dead air.
Yeah, number 3. Ancient.
Okay, I think I got it.
Do you?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna say Knights of the Round Table.
No. Mediterranean. I did that one on purpose.
Mediterranean? But your first one was
Avalon.
Well, maybe it's the pitcher. I'll say Concordia.
I will pass again.
Man.
I mean, I think Avalon.
I'm gonna give you this one as a. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna say tech tree as one word. Tech tree.
Ah, okay. So I'm gonna say civilization.
It is. Well, technically, advanced civilization. Civilization with the advanced civilization. But yes, it is civilization.
Woohoo!
The original Avalon Hill version.
So Ben Lunches said Avalon Hill games, maybe.
Well, we have taken down our prisoner.
With a little help from our friends. Why is this game your current favorite?
This is my current and probably forever favorite game. It is the game. It has never been unseated. There have been so many games that have inched up next to it, and then I always go, I love it. This is no Advanced Civilization. Advanced Civilization to me is a perfect game. It is this tech tree that you're building, but it's an all-day affair. You get 8 people together. You've got this giant map. You're spreading out. The combat's there, but it's not the focus of the game.
Unless you get nuked, like I did. My son
No. But you can't do that in the old Civilization. This is in the ancient world. This isn't Civilization from and honestly, it's the game for which all other Civ games to me are completely dependent upon. I still think about games I have played of this, which were 1 and 2 day affairs, and I think, man, if I had just moved into Crete, or if I had just taken my ships, and I still think about games that I played 5 years ago of this.
Wow.
And this is the game where I'm like, listen, if we get a day, this is happening.
This is what we're doing.
This is. I can't walk over there and get it. It sits up there. It's forever the game that keeps me awake. Wow. And if there's ever a game that can dethrone that game and incorporate all the feelings I get, I don't know what I'll do at that point. I feel like Civilization, Advanced Civilization, the way people feel about Twilight Imperium. It's just forever.
That's fantastic. Isn't that what's great about this hobby, that we have these experiences, these memories, and these things that we can go back on and want to continue to engage in it, right?
Yeah. Time to go trade some ochre.
That's fantastic. Well, we're going to move on to our next segment now, so that we can keep this show moving. But we're going to go into our Babble topic. But before we do, we have a very special announcement. Barry, could you run the Game Topper sponsorship click?
This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
on Kickstarter now. Shameless plug, and I am not shamed by talking about Game Toppers ever. But we ran a special giveaway last year at many of the conventions where people could register to win a Game Topper, and there was a variety of ways that they could do it. But ultimately, we put together, with the help of Mark Streed from the Board Game Corner and the Dice Tower preview videos, Jeremy Holmes from Blue Peg Pink Peg wrote this amazing Holmesian mystery that we collaborated together on, put a ton of time into this 4-part video where people could see these clues, and they could then enter the clues at the end of this reveal video, which ended up revealing our brand new 2 models of our Game Toppers, the Irene Adler Topper, the 36 by 48, and the Moriarty, the 4-foot by 4-foot Topper. But people could enter to win a $1,000 Game Topper package. And what was so cool about this is if they had already pledged for a Game Topper, they could still enter the program, the contest, and they would get a credit. So there was no purchase required or anything of that nature. But we have done the drawing, and drum roll!
Is he about to announce that I won?
The winner of the winner of the Game Topper giveaway is Adam Wilson. Adam Wilson from Hudson Way, Wisconsin. He's a neighbor, actually, from Minnesota, from Wisconsin. And he got all of the clues right: the work table, the blueprints, the rope, the letter, the wax. He saw Game Toppers at CMON Games, Come On Games, and look at this, Arcane Wonders. So they had opportunity to put in where they saw Game Topper and where they heard about it on podcasts. So congratulations to Adam Wilson of $1,000 certificate towards a Game Topper system. I'll be in touch with you via email and phone to announce that so we can get that all set up for you. I did double check to see if he had actually pledged for a Game Topper, and he was not a current Game Topper backer. So this is a all new a backer in that sense. So congratulations to Adam Wilson. And with that, let's move on to our Babble topic.
And now it's time for the Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble.
Hey, hey, hey. Well, we are going to be babbling today about industry hats. And the thought behind that was the different roles that come into play. And we probably are not going to be all inclusive of everything because there's so many different roles that can be had in this industry. But we wanted to talk about a few different roles that could happen in the game hobby. And about maybe the question would be, do you want to get into the hobby, and how do you go about it, and what role would you see yourself having? And we're hopefully in this discussion, we might be able to give some helpful hints regarding those job classifications, if you will, or those roles. And so with that, we're bringing on industry professional Robert Geistlinger, who has had many roles in the hobby, notwithstanding he has been a logistics manager for Quartermaster Logistics. He is a sales and marketing lead for Arcane Wonders. He is a content creator for the Dice Tower Network in his own channel. What other roles have you played in the industry, Robert?
I mean, I've done a little bit of development work. I've also done some design work. Nothing published, but development. I've done some stuff on that. I've led playtesting groups. Gamer. I've also helped run conventions. Yeah,
that's a big deal too. You're thinking about
that. Yeah, it is. There are definitely a lot of different hats that I've had to run over the years. So.
My partner Barry Babblot, of course, has also an extensive background in the hobby. For many years, he's been creating podcasts with Berkey, of course. He's with the Berkey and Badger Show, but he's also had his own YouTube channel called Board Games Everybody Should, has been a Dice Tower contributor, making amazing video type of podcasts as well as audio. But then he has developed into quite the musician in creating soundtracks and sound files for many companies' games, like The Seventh Continent and Claustrophobia, right?
We're gonna have a music off? Is that what's happening here?
There you go. And so he working with Sirenscape and doing many things of that nature. Barry, what other roles would you say that you've played in the hobby?
Playtester.
Playtester, good point.
Yeah. I've played a chocolate Swiss roll as well. You probably don't get them in America, but it's like chocolate sponge and it's rolled over.
It's a little Debbie. It's a Swiss cake roll.
Oh, that's what. Okay, that's their roll.
We have them. They're pre-packaged.
Yeah.
And you've been a demoer you've demoed games and helped booth sales.
Well, not booth sales, but enlightened people on the pleasures of a particular game or two. Getting people to sit down at a table is one thing, but then to envelop them into a world which is contained in a cardboard box is another thing. So,
that they then want to give money for.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Yeah, that's not the important part. The important part is the fun and the exploration. I mean, I don't go to Essen just to blow money. I go to Essen to experience.
Yeah,
sales.
I think
I'm not a salesman. Berkey will tell you that I'm not a salesman.
Yeah, I would say that you like to present information. We got people in the chat that's making me chuckle because they're talking about role models, and then Kabuki Kid just says, "Hey, yodels." Yeah, it's. I wouldn't say that you are looking at the greatest group of content creators or anything of that nature, the things that we contribute to the hobby, but we have had
the sexiest.
Robert,
we are definitely the sexiest.
Oh, very sexy. Yes, the king is very sexy. Robert brings a great level of expertise.
Barry, you used to do, in some of your earlier videos, you used to do some costume stuff, right?
Props
way
stuff,
back, props and stuff. Yeah. Because early on in my content creation, I used to do those skits before my reviews. I still have a closet full of costumes. I quickly abandoned that when I figured, A, how ridiculous I looked, and B, how much work it was. I was like, no, I'm just going to straight review. I'm good.
It's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's interesting for people to watch instead of just sat there like what we're doing right now.
That's fair.
I think what when I first got into what I call the greater board game designer hobby,
you're the king of costumes. Yeah, he's the Mr. king of it. That's why I was moving too.
Yeah, it's like, we started up with board game theater, and my daughter's making costumes, and us getting into character, playing games in thematic flair, if you will. Our first
you were
episode,
actually an inspiration.
What?
Your stuff was actually an inspiration.
Oh, no.
It was your board game theater early stuff, and then does anybody, I don't know if he still does it, does anybody remember the voice of E?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
His stuff, those were the two that were inspirations for me to do those costume work in the beginning. It was Berkey and the voice of E.
Wow, that's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, he had
my
some
mom's
amazing
actually
videos.
weirdly I found out years later that my mom was friends with him, and I never knew. Like, I never knew that at all. And she one day was, like, commenting on the stuff I do, and she goes, oh, this kind of reminds me of my friend who also does board games, and my little sister and his daughter play together and go to school together. And I was like, who? And she said the name, and I'm like, that sounds familiar. She goes, I think I did. He's come the voice of E or something. I'm like, what? I never knew you were friends with him. Like, how is that a thing?
Yeah, he had some really cool production values in his videos too, alongside with the costumes and the zany. I think, and it's all subjective. Some people like zany humor, some people don't, and we were really trying to go just for that fun factor. And
Yeah.
I think when we talk about all these roles, and people wanting to get into the industry, well, for me, the whole thing was all about fun. Designing a game table was all about fun. It wasn't about building a business. It was all about fun initially. And getting into the hobby in a greater way, if you will, by wearing all these multiple hats. There's so many things. You could become a media creator, a YouTuber, a podcaster, perhaps, working on the back end side of the industry as a logistics manager, managing, the sales and marketing, designing, publishing and manufacturing, sound engineering, sales. I mean, there's so many different things. But what I've found true is that people who start out in this industry oftentimes end up wearing many, many hats, because one particular job description generally is not self-sustaining, and you have to have a lot of skill sets to do anything professionally. Would you agree with that?
It's also a simple fact of, this might look glamorous to everyone, but most of our companies are very small.
Yep.
Like for Arcane Wonders, for example, there are 5 of us. 5 people put out these games. And so, it's important that everyone in the company, while you have what your role is, like I'm sales and marketing, but that you're willing to do any other job that comes. Like, I do playtesting, I take pitches, I will work on development, I will do those other things, because there's no way our companies can sustain themselves if you're not willing to do that. If we all stayed in that corporate structure of this is my job, none of us would get anything done. Now some people might say it's not a bad thing what I'm about to say, but most of us would only get out like 1 game a year tops.
Yep.
So it's important, and there's a lot that goes on in it. While I do sales and marketing, the fact that I had a background in logistics was perfect, because we were coming into this Kickstarter, and having someone who knew logistics side of things was super important. And while it's not technically within my role, it was important that I was willing to step in and do it. So yeah, you do have to be willing to do whatever's asked. And if you don't know something, just be willing to learn it. And that's actually the most important thing in this industry is know what you know and don't know what you don't know, but be willing to know it. Like, to learn it, to have someone teach you. And this industry is very open with each other. So, like, when I got in here, there were certain things I didn't know. And I didn't just ask people at Arcane, hey, well, how do I deal with this particular distribution or whatever? I went to other publishers, and I'm like, hey, how do you deal with this and stuff? And people will share that sort of information with you. So we're very open. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind in this industry. And that's something you get through building that network early on, through doing things like demoing. Even when I was at Quartermaster, I still did some demo work for some publishers at their booth. And even now, being at Arcane, if there was a show I wasn't going to with Arcane, for whatever reason, if we weren't going to do it, I might still ask another publisher, hey, you want somebody there demoing your games, just to keep working on that. But
I think you bring up a really good point about, it looks glamorous, and I know a lot of people aspire to have, would love to work in the board game hobby because I love board games, I love going to conventions, I love doing this. But once you make that switch, my hobby, which used to be one of my favorite passions, it still is, but my time dedication now my hobby has turned into much more responsibility.
Right.
And I don't have the freedom to do the things that I might have thought I was going to do being in the hobby. Like
right.
We've talked about, it becomes an all-encompassing thing, primarily because we are small companies, generally speaking, doing multifaceted jobs that require a lot of attention and a lot of multitasking skills.
Right. Well, there's a reason why when we showed that list at the beginning, that I haven't played most of those games from last year. Whereas in the past, prior to being in this hobby, I would have played every one of them or more. But you have to balance that time, and that was one thing I was honestly a little worried about when I first took the leap from my background was actually in the software side of the finance industry, software side of the finance sector of the auto industry was my background.
He's making that up.
But that was my background, and I was obviously still doing Dice Tower, and that took a little bit of time, but it wasn't my sole job. And I had to make that decision when I switched, when I gave up my really nice career financially. I had to go, well, I know that I'm going to be giving up a certain degree of the, for lack of a better term, the fun aspects. I don't get to play as many games as I used to solely for just to play them for fun's sake. And that's great for me because I love bringing new games into existence, so I'm totally good with it. But it is something you need to think about. And I tell people that a lot when they ask about, what can I do to get in the industry? I'm like, well, first you need to think about what your actual goals are. If this is just you love playing games, this might not be the answer, because you might lose something that makes this what you love. And that goes for anything, anytime you take a hobby and turn it into a job. I mean, even when I went from, I used to program coding as my hobby. It was fun. I like hacking things and making things work. And then when it became my job, I was like, this is dreadful and I hate my life. And since even now getting out of doing it, I've never returned back to it. I do not code for fun anymore. I'm like, no, I'm good.
You did say hacking there, didn't you?
I did a little bit. Not black hat stuff, but I was part of the original team that worked on a lot of the original drivers for like the whole Hackintosh movement, making PC hardware work. I was in those early days, so.
Well, Barry,
that was fun.
I know your life has changed a lot due primarily to the success of your music taking off as background music for a lot of major projects, and now your time has become more limited, and then plus you're still creating media, but the ability for you to even create music and media and enjoy your hobby. Tell us a little bit about that, how that's affected you.
It is a lot of juggling. I mean, if you are looking at a career in the business, look at what you do good and what you enjoy doing. I enjoy playing games. I enjoy talking about games. I enjoy getting to the nitty-gritty. But my upbringing is music. My first love in life is music. The first thing that touched me emotionally was the sounds of instruments going in one ear and out the other ear, and so that's my lip horn into it. It was a mistake. It was an accident. It was a case of me asking Bruno at Serious Pulp about the soundtrack that they were going to produce for their Kickstarter, The Seventh Continent, and it kind of fell in my lap when he told me that the composer has dropped out. Do I know anyone?
You know yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, I know myself, and
that's why I never. Yeah.
That kind of fell into my lap. So it's a kind of be in the right place at the right time, know the right people, kind of thing. And it's I've always believed in working hard and climbing up the ladder, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it is a case of sticking your foot in the door and getting where you want to get to. And you could say that about certain Trump people who just wedge their way through life like that. If you've got a vision of what you want to do and you know what you're good at, then aim for it. It may be just demoing. It may be just spell checking rule books. Paul Grogan does a fantastic job, but he doesn't make $1 million per word out of that. So he does his explanations.
But also, what's important is to make sure that you know what it is you want to do and what it is you don't want to do. Like, this really does apply to people who really want to design games. Make that if that's what you want to do. Don't try to be a publisher and don't try to do these other things, because you will end up unhappy and you'll quit the whole thing. make sure you do the things that you want to do, and don't try to cludge yourself into things that you can't do, and you might end up just muddling the whole thing. I mean, there are a lot of people who wear all the hats, but that's not for everyone. Sometimes it's what you love. That's why not every musician turns into a great producer either, and not every actor makes a great director. William Shatner.
Well, I'm a big proponent of round peg, round hole, square peg, square hole.
I'm reading between the lines there.
Well, you have a lot of people that maybe they desire to do something, but you do have to have skills if you're going to do it well. Otherwise, you don't have sustainability. And ultimately, if you're not doing what's in your gifting, if you want to call it that, within what you have to offer, if you start trying to be something else, that can put you down a path. Sometimes it can be very disappointing. Right. And so we're not trying to discourage anyone from being in the industry, of course, just giving some thoughts. For me, my background has been sales. I've been in sales since I've worn so many different hats. I was a grocery store manager. I worked at a furniture store and sold furniture. I worked as a securities a manager for quite a while.
I can top all of that.
Yeah.
I was a photographer for Glamour Shots for 5 years.
Glamour Shots. Wow, fantastic.
Listen, I knew that the only skills I could bring to anything was I love to talk and I'm pretty. So my job needed to fit that.
It was black hat photography was what the business was, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I've done a lot of different things in my life, but I always think back about the things that I've done that have prepared me to do what I do now, and what has always prepared me to do the next thing in my life. And I was uniquely, I think, gifted and have gained some experiences to be able to do a product like a Game Topper, to be able to first market it, to be able to produce it with quality and have the problem-solving skills and all of those things, and then the business background, because I've run several businesses, to be able to make sure that I do what I say and that it's a viable business. And while I'm not a perfect individual or anything by that matter, I do have certain skills, is what I'm saying. And so if you want to get into sales and marketing, you probably should have some sales and marketing skills. You might be naturally inclined, but that's different than actually being skilled.
Also be willing to do, like, the board game industry suffers sometimes from not having enough people who are willing to do normal jobs. Like, there are jobs that are not, like, a production manager is not an exciting job for a lot of people. But let me tell you, those jobs, those are the steady jobs. There are a lot of back-end steady work, and that was actually something that was important to me when I first came via Quartermaster. I was like, I want a job that has real world, like, outside board game analogies. I want a steady job. So be willing to do those back-end jobs, because there are a lot of people who want to get into the industry and they only think about those front-facing jobs, and they don't think about that there might be back-end jobs that they're great for, and actually maybe that's what they're doing for another company already. I know when I left Quartermaster, they had such a hard time finding someone to replace me in that sales job, because it's not that glamorous job for a lot of people. I'm like, that's a steady, good job, and it's a good way. That job, actually, I told a lot of people, you should take that job. If you've got the skill set, that job is going to interface you with every publisher in this industry on a regular basis. That is a great job. So there are a lot of those jobs that sit unfilled sometimes because of that reason.
So if somebody's wanting to get into the industry, we got all these different roles. What are some ways that you'd recommend? What kind of tips could you give people?
I mean, the easiest way is volunteering. Obviously, that's always going to be. Any of us publishers are always looking for volunteers at shows. Especially, what's really helpful for you is if you're local to a particular convention. That's your local convention. You're going to be a great asset for people looking for it. Like, for example, PAX Unplugged recently, a lot of us didn't have enough volunteers, and that's a great way to just get yourself in with a publisher, endear yourself to them, and you don't have to stick to one publisher. One of my volunteers, I think, actually was working 3 different booths throughout the convention. So just doing demoing and volunteering is really a easy way in. Nowadays, most publishers will pay you for your time. So that's one way to do it. Also, taking advantage of any playtesting groups in your area. Here we have a few, and that will really allow you to network a lot. Those are going to be the 2 easiest ways. I mean, you could go the route that I went and just immediately start putting yourself on YouTube right out the door. But I don't recommend it, because then years later you have to look back and see that terrible stuff you did, and it's there forever. So, but I mean, that's really it. It's putting yourself out there and just and networking. But also, on Facebook, there's the Tabletop Games Facebook group that Ross from USAopoly does a fantastic job of running. Keep an eye on that and look for jobs that match your current skill sets too. A lot of times there are those, like I said, boring jobs, but you're in. You're inside. Once you're inside, because at that point, a lot of the companies do like to try to keep.
There's no good being an accountant and you want to be a lion tamer when you've got no clue about lion taming. Yeah. Monty Python reference there, anyway. So,
I mean, it's the same advice everyone always gives, but it's good advice for a reason.
Yeah, this isn't something you just put your resume on the job search and the LinkedIn's and that type of thing for this industry. It is so much more relational.
Right.
And, I think when we started Game Toppers, it was well over 5 years of being involved in the industry with a variety of different people and being able to develop relationships. Say that again?
It's still a baby industry. It was owned by big companies at the beginning in the early 1900s, and now it's just branched out as, like anything, little upstarters. I mean, I know a lot of designers who've designed their first game have gone straight into publishing, and now they own, quite substantial publishing houses.
Well, and most of them figured out that's because they preferred publishing over designing.
Yeah, but they still design as well. So,
but as I look at, we just recently have made a part-time hire with Game Toppers, and we've hired on a contracting basis Miranda Linville. Miranda and Brad, they live in Indianapolis, but they're going to be helping us coordinate all of my conventions. So for me, I get really bogged down in booking hotel rooms and all the logistics of trying to put the convention in the booth and filling out all the paperwork. And I'm doing so many things that, what can I hand off without losing any quality? Well, you want to find that right person. Well, gosh, I see Miranda helping Yellow Games, and she's just the bubbliest, sweet gal that you ever meet. I mean, she is an ambassador to this industry, but she's a type A personality that gets things done. She's very organized. She's very skilled at doing those efficiencies. I'm not that. I can do all those things. I have the skill set, but it's not my top efficiency. It's always the thing I get put. It's always the thing I do at the last because I'm doing so many things, and so that's here's someone that's been in the hobby for many years, putting herself forward, and I recognized her quality and said, "That's the person."
Yeah, and that's just it right there. Like, for example, if I ended up needing to hire, if Arcane got to where we needed another body that was going to do that sort of role, I would first go through the list of people that I've had at conventions who didn't just, work the booth or would by themselves, but actually took an active role in helping me run that booth. Those are the people I'm going to look at first. I'm going to be like, well, do they have the skill set to run this by themselves and take that off my plate? So yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Putting yourself out there. I know. One of Skybound's recent hires for, I forget what the job is, was a guy who I had seen around for quite a while, just doing booths at different things, and I was like, that makes such sense why he got that job, because he really did put himself out there. So we are a relationship industry. We really are.
And to take that a step further, if you can breed your workers, which I did.
Okay. I'm not going to go that route, but okay.
My son Josiah, computer science major, incredibly bright, good communicator.
He's carrying all the game choppers around the warehouse. He's doing a physical job.
We are both doing those menial jobs. But when it came to managing the backer kit logistical side of things and shipping logistics, these are complicated situations that require a skill set that, I managed on the first Kickstarter, but I am thrilled that he's managing now, and he's doing brilliantly. So finding the right people for the right job is really something an industry company is going to be looking for, because we want that round peg. Josiah will do shows, and he does a great job at shows, but that's not his greatest desire. He loves managing and make sure everything is put in its place perfectly. He loves that. So find your skill set, which probably should connect somewhere with your desire, your inner gifting, the thing that you want to do, and find that role and try not to copy somebody else and be somebody else. That's my recommendation.
You can be influenced.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rob said something a second ago about, the I can't remember what you said, Rob, now. It's gone. But I remember what I was going to say.
So say what you were going to say.
This board gaming, it's about social interaction and everything. One of the things that I've noticed since knowing publishers and people that work for, companies, is there's a lot of changes. Someone will be working for this company and then they will move on to another company and vice versa. There's like this crisscross of staff. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, and I think that's actually something that's actually kind of important in our industry that does happen, because we, at the end of the day, while there's all this technical and logisticals and all this other, we are a creative industry. And if you just have the same people at one company forever, it can stagnate, and that creativity can get lost after a while. And actually moving people out, like, my predecessor went to CG, and then I came into here. It actually allows a little bit of cross-pollination that actually I think is actually really important for industry. We don't really talk about it, but I think it's actually an interesting way that happens, bringing people from one publisher to the other and moving them around. While it looks like a hopping sort of thing, it actually, I think it benefits our industry a lot in that sort of cross-pollination thing, because at the end of the day, this is a creative industry, and creativity doesn't work after a while within the same bubble of the same people.
Welcome to my bubble. I'm looking for employees. I need someone to play the fifth D and E on my piano because I'm getting fed up of playing
that's
it.
That's oddly specific.
Yeah. I was going to say my G string on my classical guitar.
Just the one string. You just got one little guy underneath it. It's just like...
Yeah, because it keeps detuning naturally. I pluck it and it detunes.
Oh, boy.
Always the G string.
Well, we've talked about industry hats. I think the thing is there's a lot of different, a lot more going on in being involved in the hobby than you might recognize. Especially if you're going to turn it into a profession, you're going to need to prepare yourself that you're going to have to wear a lot of hats. Some of the hats I wear, I don't always enjoy them, but I wear them. And that's just kind of the way it is with life. But make sure that the main thing you're doing is what you love. And I love interacting with people. I love going to these shows and showing them these products. I love interacting with my backers, and they get their mat and they're so happy, and they get their topper and they thank me. Like, I never thought I could get an affordable table. And those are the things that fuel me. And that's the majority, that's the main thing that fuels me. And I will be developing my company in a way that I can continue to do those things even in greater fashion. The things that I don't really want to do that maybe I can do, I'm going to start working and developing a team so that they can do those things more proficient than myself.
And I want to bring wonderful games to people's tables that they are going to love, and also be able to play with their families. Because again, the Dice Tower Central line is so near and dear to my heart for that reason.
Yeah, and if you just like playing games, just
play games.
Just play games.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Barry,
gamers are a huge, important part of this industry, and without them, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
They're the most important part.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They have the most important job of all of us.
Well, we're going to close down the show, but Robert, we just want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thank you to Arcane Wonders for sponsoring the Berkey and Badger
and you
board
should
game
get this
Babble.
game too.
Arcane Wonders has been so kind to us over the years, and it's been an honest sponsorship that I just absolutely have loved. The commitment to the quality of games that they offer. You can check them out at arcanewonders.com. But right now, on Kickstarter, the hit game Foundations of Rome, designed by Emerson Matsuuchi. So with that, how can people get a hold of you, Robert?
I mean, I'm not Bobby. So, arcanewonders.com or Dice Tower. You can probably figure out how to reach me there. But primarily, Robert G at arcanewonders.com. You can reach me anytime. I will help with anything.
Fantastic. Why don't you send
Arcane
us all
Wonders
out
related.
there? You can check out the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble podcast on Libsyn, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. You can also check us out at the BGG Guild, Board Game Geek. It's a fantastic place to find everything board games, and our guild is number 2248. 2248. And Barry's going to put up a poll about industry roles. What would you want to do in the industry? And we'll come back and talk about that on our next show next month.
Thank you again for listening to Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble. This show was written, produced, and performed by Kevin Burkhardt-Smyer and Barry Doublet, as was the music too, with a little help from the Balance of Power. Although the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme was composed by Ennio Morricone, and background effects were supplied by Sirenscape. Enhance your gaming at Sirenscape.com. Join us next time where we might have a special guest, or we may review a game. But either way, there'll be more craziness and more babbling.